Our ancestors didn't have the luxury to choose what they ate. They ate what didn't kill them first, and often. That meant chewing on things you and I wouldn't dare go near. The climate was brutally cold, resources were scarce. Crops impossible, the only menu item. Meat, raw, tough, and often days old. And the hunt, it wasn't noble or cinematic. It was chaotic, terrifying, and desperate. A small tribe, armed with sharpened stones and courage, faced down a creature 10 times their size, not because they were brave, but because they were starving. When they did bring something down, every single part of it was used. Muscle was for eating. Bones were cracked open for the marrow, a rare calorie-dense gold mine. Organs were often consumed raw, the liver, heart, even the intestines, because cooking fuel was limited and speed meant survival. But even that wasn't enough. Winter dragged on. Game became rare. The kill sites turned into battlefields, not just between humans and animals, but between humans and each other. So what did they do? They boiled bones for days, just to scrape out the last bits of fat. They dried stomach linings into chewy, leathery jerky. They gnawed on hooves. Because in the Ice Age, calories meant life. And the line between food and filth blurred every single day. Fuel was precious, firewood hard to come by in treeless Ice Age plains. So they got creative. They didn't just eat the animal, they turned it into a stove. Sometimes, the ribcage of a large beast became the cooking rack. Stones were heated in fire and dropped into skin-lined pits filled with water, boiling scraps into makeshift stews. But fire was a luxury. More often, meat was eaten raw, torn with the teeth, shared by hand, still warm from the kill. If it froze before they got to it, they fought it by chewing. Preservation was a constant struggle. The cold helped to sure, but nothing lasted forever. When meat began to rot, it didn't go to waste. In fact, rotting meat became a strange sort of delicacy. Fermentation, though not understood scientifically, became a tool of survival. Chunks of meat were buried under snow or earth, left to age, the smell unbearable, the taste acidic, funky, borderline disgusting. But to them, it was a soft, easier-to-digest option, especially for the elderly or the young. And speaking of strange meals, they ate hide. Boiled leather from animal skins could turn into a slimy, gelatinous soup. Not nutritious, but filling. They also ate dirt. Yep, when absolutely desperate, some tribes consumed clay or soil mixed with bone ash. It didn't nourish, but it kept hunger pangs quiet a little longer. Modern humans talk about intermittent fasting as a wellness trend, but Ice Age humans, they fasted for days, not by choice, but by cruelty of nature. The human body adapted, and the mind hardened. Because when food is pain, and survival is a daily gamble, you start to see dinner very differently. Every meal was a ritual, not out of culture, but out of survival. Food wasn't eaten alone. It was divided carefully, sometimes with the elder getting the liver, the strongest warrior taking muscle, and children chewing fat for energy. There was no waste, ever. Brains were cracked open for their dense fats. Eyes, soft and easy to digest, were considered valuable. Even tendons and sinew were dried for later use as thread or emergency rations. And yes, some of the most disgusting parts, like the stomach contents of herbivores' partially digested plants, were consumed too. Why? Because prehistoric humans weren't just hunters. They were scavengers, opportunists, and chemists of desperation. But here's what's wild. They adapted. The body began to crave fats over sugars. Hunger changed the brain. The idea of disgust slowly rewired, not because they liked what they were eating, but because the alternative was death. So when we ask, what did Ice Age humans eat? The real answer is, anything they could stomach. And even things they couldn't, and maybe the most horrifying part. That same desperation forced them to innovate. Primitive tools were developed just to extract food better, flint knives to skin faster, grinding stones to mash bones, pits to store meat away from predators. They weren't just eating, They were engineering survival, bite by bite. This wasn't a diet, it was war. Every meal was a tiny victory against extinction. And we're only just scratching the surface. Because in the next chapter, we'll explore the weirdest and most disgusting sources of Ice Age protein, from insects to rotting carcasses, and how some of them are making a comeback today.